Welcome back to the Auburn versus All Y'all podcast. I'm your host, William Kendrick. And without further ado, let's go ahead and get into it. So Auburn bounces back here. Had a big spot on the road against Vandy where, people I talked to myself were like, man, this is a trap game spot. Like, we got to watch out and be careful here. And the game started, and you looked and Auburn's up 15-0, and we're like, oh, okay. This Florida loss really got them rolling. And you could see where Coach Pearl, had really ripped one into them and just see the immediate impact of all right, our effort against Florida was unacceptable. And to immediately go up 15-0, what's up, Trav? To immediately go up 15-0 and then just, through the middle part of that game, Vandy found their footing and started playing a little bit better defense and found their way back into that game. And before the first half ended, it was, you blinked, it's 34-32. Auburn's only up by 2 after being up 15-0. So it was that kind of game where Auburn dominated the first 10 minutes, really struggled in the middle portion, was going back and forth with Vandy there for a while, but really pulled away at the end. And a big part of it was the improvement of Chaney Johnson. He's just gotten better week after week after week. And I keep saying this, I feel like against a few weeks ago, one of the games where he really stepped up, that was his best game he had as an Auburn Tiger. But then tonight you look, and I think tonight was that. I think he took another level up in his game. He went 9 out of 10 from the floor, and he had 21 points tonight with 5 rebounds as well. It just if he can be that kind of guy for us, where he can average a double-double every night on top of, Janai Broom's production that will come. Denver Jones also had 20 points. Miles Kelly had a off night, only having 3, but you expect more from him in most games. And then Chad Baker-Mazara had a rough night tonight and didn't have the production we usually expect from a guy like that, who's probably our second best player. But if Chaney Johnson continues to develop and can be that guy in the paint presence, like an old school style of player and really dominate in the mid-range, man, you think you've seen it all with this team and how good they could be. But then someone like Chaney Johnson just steps up and just, plays out of their mind. And without Chaney Johnson, we probably don't win this game tonight. Well, absolutely, we definitely don't win this game tonight. So my player of the game goes to Chaney Johnson. Shout out Chaney Johnson. He impresses me every week. Just, it seems like, I know I keep harping on this, but he just gets better and better and better every week. And he finds ways to just, he's so physical, but he also knows how to be physical without drawing a foul. Like, he'll just, he'll work his way down in the paint, and then if he can't get down to the rim, he'll fade away and make a mid-range. Like, he's become a very well-rounded player for us, and he's also just really good defensively. Like, he's so athletic, he's hard to get around because he's also just super big and strong. He's just a formidable player size-wise. But yeah, so Auburn improves to 22-2 on the season. 10-1 in conference play, bouncing back after that Florida loss. And to kind of go into it more, when I said that there was thought that this would be a trap game, it's because we just got off a tough loss against Florida. And then on Saturday, we go to Tuscaloosa to play the number 2 team in the nation, our rival, Alabama. And so when you factor those things, coming off a tough loss against Florida, even if it was a win, like, that's still that spot where you're like, man, you really don't like going to Nashville on a Tuesday night to play this Vanderbilt team, who at home has beaten Tennessee and Kentucky. So they're respectable at home, and they've made teams pay when they haven't brought their A game. So just super glad we got this done, handled business like we should. And even with having an off night from some of our main guys, like Janai didn't really get going until the second half. And when he did, he was on fire. Like, you could see, like, he was starting to get into his own and get into his rhythm and, get set offensively and kind of get, back into where he thrives as a player. He was getting his teammates involved. He was getting his own every now and then. He was catching lobs. He was driving to the lane, getting dunks up. And people were talking about, is his ankle is he 100% right now? And I don't think he's 100% at this point, no. But I think he's healthy enough to be playing right now and be an effective piece of this roster and still be a National Player of the Year candidate with a not-so-great ankle at the moment. It just feels like he's kind of recovering from that still. And if we're going to beat Alabama on Saturday, we're going to need him at 100%. Like, everyone's got to be all engines go on Saturday. We can't afford to have a game like tonight. Like, if they're going to have a rough game, like scoring-wise, like from most of our players that normally are heavy hitters offensively, I'm glad it was tonight when Chaney Johnson and Denver Jones should step up and carry that, weight that the others couldn't have tonight because they just were off tonight. So I'm just hoping on Saturday against Bama, we really bring our A game, get Janai rolling early, let Chaney cook. Because Chaney, these past 3 games, he's just fit. He's just cooking. He's getting into it. He's growing into his own. And you can see it by game, like I've said. He's just becoming a more confident player in his ability and just realizing that, man, I'm a very gifted athlete, and I'm just better than the guy who's guarding me, which is true. Like, when Chaney puts his head down and he wants to drive, he's going to score on most people in front of him, even in the SEC, the best conference in college basketball. Yeah, but if we're going to want to, like I said, Saturday against Bama is a huge one. A huge one. It's the first time in SEC basketball history where you have the number 1 versus number 2 team in the SEC or in the nation playing each other from the SEC. It's just incredible what Bruce Pearl has done to this program. The fact that we're the number 1 team in the nation, and also we're going to play the number 2 Alabama team in the nation. Like, I don't like Alabama, never will, never have, never will. But I can give credit where, man, Nate Oates has got them something rolling over there. Same with Bruce Pearl. Like, it's crazy that we're at this point in the state. Like, if you would have told me when I was a kid, like, when Auburn and Alabama basketball were never really, like, super good, that, hey, by the way, a little bit after you graduate from Auburn, Bama and Auburn are going to be number 1 and number 2 in the nation and playing each other with SEC title or regular season title hopes on the line, I would go, you're crazy. There's no shot. And even to go more into that, I think at this point, with how it's been for football lately for Auburn, the basketball rivalry may have surpassed the football one at this point because of the quality of teams. Like, Alabama's number 2 in the nation. They have Mark Sears, who's one of the top players in the nation. Auburn is number 1 in the nation. They have Janai Broome, who's a National Player of the Year candidate, along with Cooper Flagg. And they just have a deep team, Denver, Miles, Chad, Chaney, all these guys. So it's just crazy to think that, like, someone who's grown up in Alabama, always been an Auburn fan since they were a kid, and most of their family is Auburn fans, is the fact that we're actually at this point right now with this important of a game coming up on Saturday. Like, it's awesome for the state. And, like, I don't like Alabama. If I had my way, they would lose every game, and we'd beat them every time because I just don't like them. But it's just crazy that we're at this point. Like, as both basketball programs are, like, some of the best in the nation. Like, Alabama made the Final Four last year. Auburn won the SEC tournament last year. Like, both these teams right now are probably at the peak that their programs have ever been. And it's just crazy that it's at the same time, But, yeah, but in this game, it just seems like some of the things that plagued Auburn against Florida and the reason we lost, rebounding, sometimes there are some defensive lapses. And you could call that an effort thing because a lot of coaches will tell you, yeah, defense and rebounding is pure effort. And there's some validity to that for sure. And there's times on the court where you're watching, like, man, the effort seems like sometimes it's lacking a little bit at times. Like, when they get up a little bit, it's like, all right, sometimes they'll have someone wide open in the corner. And, like, it's like, how did that person get so open? Because we haven't seen that all year. And it just seems like the things we did to get us to this point to earn the number 1 ranking and only have 1 loss in the SEC, it kind of seems at times we forget to do those things. Like, when we started the game on our 15-0 run, you could see, like, the similarities of how we played early on in the season, the intensity, the hard-nosed defense, the really getting in your face, like making you take uncomfortable contested shots every time. It just seems like that's kind of gone away at points. And I wish we could kind of get back to that consistency of playing that really tough defense. Like, it comes in phases. Like, when Auburn's going to guard you, they're going to guard you, and there's nothing to do about it. Like, they're one of the better defenses in the nation. But it seems like sometimes they can, like, have lapses on defense. Like, whether that's, an effort thing or like a, communication thing about when they're running zone about, hey, all right, you got this guy, I have this guy, and then they miscommunicate. It very well could be that, and that could be just the easiest fix ever. But it does concern me, like, long term when we get to March and, like, there's going to be games where they're a defensive, like, slugfest, and it's like you're trading blows with the other team, and then you have to be, like, 100% locked in on defense. Are we going to do that? Because you've seen it sometimes. Like against Florida, they were wide open a bunch. Tonight there was times where Vanderbilt had good looks, but they just missed, and we got fortunate with those. So I just think that, like, we're still in a good spot. I'm not worried, like, long term about this team's potential and, like, where they can be. Like, this team is a national championship contender. There's no doubt in my mind about that. I just get worried at times that we're, like, they get a little sleepy on defense sometimes, and they'll have some, like, careless turnovers. Like, every college team is going to have a few weaknesses, and this team's no different, no matter the fact that they've been the unanimous number one team outside of this past week when they lost to Florida. Like, they still were number one, but no longer unanimous number one. So I think you just look at everything as a total. Like, offense has lapses sometimes. Like, they'll go on scoring droughts and they'll really have to, lean on their defense, and that doesn't make you feel great at times. But again, I think this team still is in a very good spot. It's going to determine for, not for March Madness purposes, but for right now, with our odds to win the SEC regular season title go up immensely if we can beat Alabama in Tuscaloosa on Saturday. And that's a big if, because Alabama is a very good team, and it's in their home arena. Like, it's not going to be easy to go and get a win there. Like, last time I looked, Auburn was a 4.5-point favorite, and I think that's way too many points, personally. Like, that's a lot of points going on the road to the number 2 team in the nation. Now, do I hope we win and cover that? Absolutely. But being realistic, it's probably going to be a little bit closer game than that. Like, probably a, 1-2 point game either way, like, whichever team wins it. Because it's truthfully, to me, it's a 50-50 toss-up. Like, I think on paper, Auburn is better, but the fact that it's in Alabama or at Tuscaloosa kind of, evens that out. And let's say that a few of their players get hot from three, right? And we're still struggling to find our identity offensively a little bit, with guys kind of having a slump sometimes. Then, yeah, we got to play our A game on Saturday if we want to beat Alabama. Because if we don't play our best, in all phases, taking care of the ball, getting good looks at the rim, setting your teammates up, and then defensively, you can't have these lapses against Alabama because they will make you pay because they're going to make their threes. They're one of the better three-point shooting teams in the nation for a reason. When you got guys like Mark Sears and all these other boys who are shooting really good from three, you got to make sure you're locked in defensively because if you're not, they're going to make you pay. And I just would hate, like, for us to go Tuscaloosa and then lose to them because we don't play our game defensively, like guarding them like we should, doing things we should, doing the fundamentals and stuff like that, doing the right things. Like, if we're playing good defense and, like, they just beat us, they're just shooting over us, like Mark Sears has a really good game or Grant Nelson has a really good game or anybody like that, that's when you just tip your hat and move on. It's one game. You don't love losing to your rival, but you can't give them anything, especially in their home arena. You just can't. So, but I think we're in a good spot moving forward. Getting a win tonight against Vandy was huge. Because if we would have, dropped another against Vandy and then Alabama would have won against Texas, we would be in a tough spot, especially going to their place on Saturday. So this game was just huge in general for getting some momentum back and picking one up. Because if we would have dropped this one, we would have had little to no momentum going into Saturday, and that's a tough thing to do when you're going on the road against a rival. Even if Alabama wasn't number 2 in the nation and they were unranked, it's still just a tough spot. We've seen it in every level of the Iron Bowl. Like, Auburn football hasn't been ranked in the top 25 in the past couple of years. But even last year, when we went to Tuscaloosa, there was times in that game where you're like, man, Auburn, they did a score here, they're in this. And the year before that, my senior year, Auburn gave Alabama everything they wanted to, and it took Alabama a last-second Hail Mary to beat Auburn. That's just how this rivalry always has been. It's always a super close and competitive game most years. especially now with basketball, both teams being so good and being able to score like at will most times. And this is going to have to be a Janai Broome game, I feel like. It's just we need him to step up bad here. He's our best player by far. Just need him to do his thing, which I know he fully can. We just need him to step up. We need him to step up and just let Chaney Johnson keep doing his thing. Denver Jones has been a stud these past couple of weeks, and we just need to keep up calling plays for Denver Jones. He's shooting the lights out right now. He's being super good distributing the ball. He's doing all the things right. It's just nice seeing Denver really get rolling, and it's really nice seeing Chaney get rolling too, because there was a lot talked about Chaney this offseason about, oh, he's D2, he's D2, he's this, he's that. Well, yeah, he was D2, but now he's cooking. So does it really matter where he comes from if he's going to be a good player or not? I don't think so. I think that was overblown about him being D2, and now he's really a player who come March, if Auburn does want to make a run, he's going to be one of those players that can have an eruption of a game and go off for 30 and be the reason Auburn is in the Elite Eight rather than the Sweet 16. He has one of those, he has the ceilings of one of those players. So Chaney's been awesome. He's been awesome these past couple of games. And if he can keep building off that and stacking good days, his ceiling is the moon. He's just effective with the ball. He shot 9 from 10 tonight. He just plays the game super well and effectively. And you can tell his teammates love him as well. But just big win tonight overall. Bounce back at Vandy. Really good spot here. Well, if you guys like the stream, go over to my Twitter, my personal one, WilliamLH21. Give that a follow. And if you don't mind, also give the podcast Twitter a follow at Auburn versus All Y'all. And then go to the YouTube, do the same thing, just Auburn versus All Y'all. Give this video a like when I go post it. Subscribe if you don't mind. It costs you nothing. And I appreciate you guys tuning in. And War Eagle.